Hello, dear YouTube Sangha. Welcome to an episode of Peace of Mind called Steps Along the Path. And here today, it's going to be like an interview setting, which I'm very excited about because I'm here. I'm Dharma Peace, and I'm here with Dharma Sky. And today I'm gonna ask him a few questions about his life. We're gonna play some 21 questions, right? and
Uh-oh.
Sky, I like literally wrote out 21 questions, but then I cheated a little bit because we gotta do some follow-up questions. So I hope I don't catch you by surprise here. Uh,
That's fine. I'm ready for the challenge. Let's go.
all right, so because I know many of the audience have heard myself and Sense and Ocean talk about our journeys and steps along the path, but I'm curious to know more about yours, and I hope that we can open that book up and go through a few of the chapters with you today. Um, so whenever you're ready, Sky, are you ready for any of my questions now? First question.
Absolutely. That's question number one. Let's do it.
All right. Well, the first question is, I want to ask about your upbringing. I know you're Puerto Rican, but where were you born and brought up? Like that's what I'm. Yeah, you got the. That's so cool. You got the Puerto Rico hat. Um, but yeah, where were you
Uh,
born?
so I was born in New York City, specifically the Bronx, New York. And I lived there for the first couple of years of my life. And I went to Puerto Rico when I was around 6, close to 7.
Hmm.
Um, it was an interesting experience because it's like opposite places. Like there's totally different languages, different ways of living. And it was cool. Like I have a lot of good memories. My parents told me that when I first moved to Puerto Rico, I saw a lizard for the first time because we don't got those in New York. And I thought it was like a baby dinosaur. And I was like, Mommy, look, a baby dinosaur. That was a good memory. And I was very playful with my family and stuff, with my cousins. A lot of great memories. I'm blessed because I got to learn Spanish and all that stuff. But it was a little challenging at times due that I was born in New York. Being born in New York and being Puerto Rico, they don't look at you the same. So I wasn't really like Puerto Rican enough, basically, when I was growing up. And then that you had the fact that I was quiet and shy and stuff. It, I got bullied a little bit and stuff, but it happens. And then after a couple of years, I went back to New York when I was 13, and that truly was a turning point. So I went to school and I wanted to make friends. In Puerto Rico, I felt like I wasn't accepted when I was a little kid, even though I had, again, great memories. And I wanted to make friends. But then when I got into the classroom, like everybody was from a different country. So I couldn't really relate or understand them. So it was very challenging, but instead of being sad, I saw like a challenge. So what I did, I bought like a World Atlas book. And I started studying and learning about different countries. And whatever I learned from the book, I would go back to the classroom and talk to the kids about their country so they connect with them more. And that's really helped. And not only that, they helped me at the moment. I think it kind of like knocked the door on my compassion a little bit, because that's when I started to be a little bit more open-minded. I started learning about different cultures and different ways of being and stuff. And then a couple of years later, when I went to high school, I started reading into like different religions and different people. Like my first book in high school that I got was a Bob Marley book. And I started learning about being a Rastafari, about him talking about peace and that. And yeah, the whole weed thing, I don't smoke, but I excluded that part. But I look into the whole being peaceful and the protesting and that stuff. And I kind of grew an interest in that. And I think that helped me later on as an adult to become Buddhist, because it was like planting the seed of compassion in me, just having an open mind to gain more knowledge and have new experiences.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah, and like I could see the Bob Marley a little bit there with you, like in the sense of, he's Jamaican, Puerto Rico's the Caribbean, and so it's same kind of part of the world, arguably. I don't know if people on those islands would
That's fair.
agree. um,
I think so.
yeah. But well, I definitely have people in my family who would love to hear that about your life. So, and I'm very happy to highlight that this multicultural background that in your upbringing sort of it basically laid the groundwork for your approach to Buddhism as well. But I'm curious about that, and so my next question would be, at what at what point in your life did you start to sort of look at Buddhism and say, that looks like the right thing for me, and then maybe at some point follow up with the moment that you started to say I'm Buddhist, or started to become Buddhist in your mind? Are you able to like walk us through that a little bit? That little journey?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So years back, my wife at the time, she went to a yoga class with her friend, and I always been kind of interested in it, but back then my mentality was like it was corny and not very manly. I mean, growing up in the
Mm,
city, in New York, in the Bronx, and Puerto Rico, you learn to be tough and you don't do stuff like that. But when she took that class, okay, I thought to myself, well, I wouldn't do yoga because I'm not gonna be corny and do this process. Everybody's looking at me, but maybe let me give meditation a shot. So what I did one day, I went to the shower, turned it on, I sat in the shower, and I started like just taking deep breaths and just listening to the shower, just the water running and stuff. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it, and I started practicing every day. Every day I started practicing meditation. I started with 5 minutes. Then with time it went to 10, 15, 20, so on and so forth. There was a point I was meditating for probably like 45 minutes at a time. And as I did that, I always associated meditation with Buddhism and monks. Because when you think of meditation, at least back then, I said, oh, meditation, monks. So I started looking into Buddhism and I got curious about it and I started watching videos on YouTube about it. Uh, I started learning about compassion and their lifestyle and being peaceful. Then that made me change how I view the things. I was scared at first because I was like, should I really accept being Buddhist? Like, what are they gonna think of me? Like, I was scared of being judged. How would they see me? But I was leaning towards it. So I went on and started learning more. I saw that they used to be vegetarian, so I looked into being vegetarian, and then I saw more videos about being vegan. So I went vegan. I changed my whole diet, my whole way of view, and then years later, I went to temple because I felt like I was practicing Buddhism as a philosophy, but I don't think I was doing the right thing at the moment that I thought, as far as like being part of religion. So I went to a Buddhist temple, where,
mm,
and when I stepped in there, like I felt accepted. And as I said earlier, it was always an issue for me to be accepted by people, like feeling that I belong somewhere. Because every time I used to be somewhere, I wasn't enough this or enough that, and that was the one place that I felt like home, and where everything that I thought and my belief system made sense. And that's when I said, okay, I'm Buddhist. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm pursuing. This is going to be a part of my life moving on.
yeah, that's awesome. I, I'm I'm wondering, was there a follow up question here would be, was there any sort of turning point or like a change of heart or a big moment, or was it just a gradual sort of implementation of Buddhist meditation and then you wind up in a temple and then you're like, I think I should take refuge, right? Like, is it the former or the latter? Like the first one or the second one for you?
It was a gradual thing. As
Mm,
years passed and the more I practiced, I felt more and more love with Buddhism and stuff. And then one day I decided, hey, I'm already a part of it. I feel at peace. I feel like this is the right path. Let me take refuge.
mm,
And that's when I decided to do it. And I'm so glad that I did it. Like I remember when I took my refuge, I was antsy. I was nervous, but I was so excited. And then when I got there and I got my name and everything, the whole ceremony was beautiful, and it's something I will never forget.
mm, beautiful. Um, okay, so that brings us to the next question. As far as your thoughts on Buddhism and how it enters your life, do you consider it a religion, philosophy, or a mix of the two?
So at first, like I said, I saw it more like a philosophy. I didn't want to embrace the religious aspect of it because I wanted to discover it by myself, the whole meaning of life and the whole wisdom. I didn't want to be following like a book or something like that. But then as I grew older and started going to temple, I saw a little bit differently. I saw the importance of going to temple and being with the Sangha, learning about the Dharma.
Mm,
But you could follow it either way, either as a philosophy or as a religion, but that's not really important because you could have all the wisdom by meditating in your own life and all the knowledge from the Dharma stuff. But what's important is what you do with the practice. Because if you got all that information, but you're not doing nothing with it, does it really matter if you see it as a religion or as a philosophy? So that's when I decided to, get my Dharma name. And later on, that led me to engage Buddhism because, knowing peace is not enough. It's what you do with it.
yeah, no, that's awesome. Actually, now that you mention your Dharma name, I kind of want to skip right to that because I told you I wanted to ask about that, but so I'll just skip right to that question about your Dharma name. So when you took refuge, um, and then you received the name Dharma Sky, because we go to the dais, we go to the front altar of the temple, and then our abbot hands us an ordination paper, like this little document here, and he said, "Your Dharma Sky." So when he did that, um, what was the thought that came across? Like for when once you realized my Dharma name is Sky, what happened there?
Confusion. I was happy, but I was confused because I heard names like peace. I heard like love. I heard flower, and names that you would associate with Buddhism, but then sky and like wow, that's kind of I don't know. At the time, I thought it was random, and all these years I never questioned it. I never thought about it. I never reflected on it until I knew you was going to ask me this question. So I did the reflection, and I was sitting, meditating, contemplating about it, reflecting, and when you think about the sky, it always seems that it's always changing. It has like storm and the clouds and the thunder and this and that. But underneath all of that, the sky is still blue and it's gonna be blue eventually. And I kind of reflect that with my life. Like even though I went through this and through that and all the turmoil, like I realized by accepting my life how it is and learning to transform, I could clear all the clouds and all the thunder and come back to myself and find that peace. So I think it shows how patient I am and how I can realize that the sky's the limit, I like to say, and I could, accomplish my goals. So that's how I identify with my name. I feel that it's me embracing this change in life, and just like the sky, even though it might be a little rainy, at the end the sun's gonna come out and it's gonna be nice and blue again.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. So you focused more on the change aspect of it, which I like a lot, and also like it's a lesson of equanimity, right? Like a balance where it's like, yeah, at some point it's stormy, and another point it's back to where it was before, right? And I feel like so you're putting a focus on clarity and equanimity, despite all of the changes, right? And I love that. Thank you. Um, and I do want to say that because also for the purposes of peace of mind and understanding like Buddhist teachings and things, um, there's also the aspect like I wrote you your name, your Dharma name in kanji, which is like the Japanese way of saying Chinese characters, and which I'll share on the screen for you guys so that you know what I'm talking about. But that character is pronounced Sora when it's alone, when it's by itself, and that means sky. But it also emphasizes emptiness. So this leads into a follow-up question. When you hear that, when it relates both to emptiness or something not being there, and it also how it correlates to the sky. How's that
Oh
make
wow.
you? What does that make you feel, or what do you think about that?
I'm surprised because this wasn't planned at all. Like I even knew they had to do with it. I was just talking, what I felt and I'm speaking out of my heart. I didn't know that I had to do with, that's impressive. I don't even know what to say. Lost
Yeah,
words.
yeah. It's like it has a sense of emptiness and vastness as well. Like when you look at the sky, it's like you can't really comprehend the vastness, right? You're just looking up and it's just like it looks empty or without substance in a way, or not in a negative way, just in a way of like without objects or without, what I mean. You look up and you see this teeny tiny bird way up there, and all of a sudden you understand the vastness of the sky, right? And anyway, that's I just wanted to see what and I love your reaction there too. So thank you. Um,
Well,
so on to my next question, coming back to the Earth now. Question: without getting too personal, what do you do for a living? Like, what is the job description? Is the way that I wrote it. Um, so you don't have to tell us like locations or anything, or like if you have to wear a uniform. I'm just curious about like what when you go to a party, what do you tell people like your vocation is?
yeah, so I work at a program at Safety and Security for troubled youth. These are kids that have legal issues. They have trauma, mental issues, and I kind of make sure they don't fight each other. Make
Mm-hmm.
sure like I'm there as a role model. Make sure to keep order. Make sure to teach them and kind of like teach them the way before they leave, before their time is up.
Mm,
In simple terms.
okay. Um, well, naturally, when you develop a relationship with these troubled youths, we say troubled youths, but just my 2 cents. But what they have done before they end up in the institution was troubling, and they were troubled at the time. But when they're there, it's like no telling if they're troubled or not. Maybe they're not criminally minded, or maybe they have been rehabilitated or something. But
Well, you can definitely tell, that they have, situations and stuff. But it's beautiful to see when some of them change while being there. You can see the change. You can see their kids in nature, and even though they did this or they did that, they're still a human being, and they still have wonderful traits. And when I'm there, I kind of focus on that part, and as I bond with them, I get to know them more, and you can see when they will make a difference once they're out.
mm, yeah, and that's like the whole point, right? Like that's the point of the institution or the rehabilitation system right there. But is it difficult to speak about your beliefs at work or in public? Like I'm more thinking about like at work, because as a teacher, it can be difficult. Like I was blessed to be able to share a lot about my practice in my schools, but I also didn't want to like overemphasize my importance in my work because I have a role to play, you know. But but applying Buddhist practice and engagement, that's kind of where I'm getting at. Like with this question, like, do you find it difficult to engage or to use Buddhist uh, engagement in your work, in your public life?
No, I'm very comfortable as who I am as a person now and what I stand for in my belief system. I don't try to force anything. Usually, how it happens, my kids will see like my tattoos. Like for example, I got like center right here, and they will ask me what it means, and that will start a conversation. Some kids have learned that I meditate, so they will ask me questions on meditation. I already got kids like 2 or 3 already trying to meditate and stuff. Coworkers, the reactions are a little different. It's interesting. Some of them
Mm,
get faces. If I talk about my diet, they may put a face on, but I feel comfortable. Honestly, that wasn't the case before in my past. Like I was always a people pleaser, and always trying to like tippy toe about my answers and stuff. And even though I still have I still practice wisdom when I speak. I speak more freely now, and I think a lot of that was meditation. A lot of it was doing engaged Buddhism, like being an activist for a little bit. That helped me speak with other people and kind of try to trade ideas here and there. That helped a lot. But no, it's not troubling at all. Like I just love watching the different reactions. Like some kids like it, some kids may crack a joke. Coworkers may put a face, but no, it's not a trouble. I talk about it freely.
okay. So if I may, I want to follow up on that. Is there any advice you would give about, like, in those instances when you're public facing and you're engaged as a Buddhist? Maybe not explicitly. Maybe you don't say, "I'm doing this because I'm Buddhist," but you sort of embody Buddhist practice, and then you get some kind of feedback for that. Do you have any advice for people who want to engage in the way that you do, and then somehow you get like a negative reaction, or or maybe an uncomfortable or awkward one? What would you advise in that situation?
Yeah, like I said before, compassion is important. You got to develop your compassion and realize when someone's coming at you, they got a reason for the way they are and how they react. Your job is to stay grounded on what you stand for. I explained before about doing a whole body scan to kind of relax your what you're feeling at the moment. And try like mindful listening and loving kindness. And once you're able to ground yourself, just kind of speak from your heart, share the wisdom. The most important thing is the right intention. If it's coming from a place where you're trying to show the world about peace and not more like about look at me or what I'm gaining, I think that's the best way.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you. That's perfect. And okay, so a little bit. This might change it a little bit, but I'm trying to sort of gauge a broader sense of, how you live life, how you practice. Um, in your personal practice, is there something that isn't meditation that helps you put the Dharma into focus? Like, so for yourself and in your lived life, for example, I sometimes watch movies and play games, and that can actually make certain things click for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like certain avenues of understanding, like that I think that other people actually kind of miss out on, because precisely because they try to bifurcate the Buddhist way of life and all the other stuff. Like, it's like Thich Nhat Hanh said, we need to be careful about how we consume, and I agree with that. I 100% agree. It's all about moderation, and it's also not about like not letting things affect your mind. It's kind of like the opposite direction, where usually as consumers we're consuming and we let things affect our mind. But how I engage entertainment is it goes the other direction, where I'm like, my mind is kind of like dictating how this thing is affecting me in my life and how I use it as a narrative and as a teaching tool even at times. But also it like for example, there's certain sutras and stuff. Well, you will actually encounter, like, as you read it, you encounter violence, or you encounter like graphic information. Like someone loses their arm, or like there's a lot of koans like that in Zen, where like there's actually like for lack of a better word, gore in the story, and people would say, oh, that's gross, or that's terrible, or this is something you shouldn't think about. But sometimes it helps concepts click, right? And sometimes it helps you with understanding and how to apply Buddhism in your life, the life that we live, which is real, right? So I'm wondering, okay, after that long explanation, how do you what do you think about that, like as far as entertainment and games and
Yeah, I
music?
mean, everything, everything is a dharma. Everything can be your dharma if you're open enough. Things that I do, as you know, I work out, I go to the gym. That's definitely practicing stillness and motion. Like, you kind of focus on your reps, focus on your breathing. Another one would be my relationships. Like, I practice my patience, my understanding, my listening skills, my compassion. Uh, as everybody knows, I'm a big animal person. I love animals. Like, being around animals teach me everything. They teach me about love, interconnectedness, unconditional love, and just seeing their personalities and how they act and how they relate to you and how they look at you teaches you a whole lot of things. And then he spoke about movies. There's a lot of movies that I learned different things about Buddhism. Probably not the movies you think of, like no kung fu movies, no stuff like that. More like Master Wu Wei, Kung Fu Panda, or Rafiki the Lion King. But even though they're like kiddie movies, the
Yeah,
things that they say in those movies, I don't know. I kind of connect with that, and as I get older, I kind of like identify with them a little bit more.
yeah. It's funny, like, because a lot of these sources of entertainment, they're written by adults, right? Like they're for the target audience is usually kids or family. But what's more wholesome than what adults are writing for kids and for families? Like and Buddhism is all about wholesomeness, right? So you find like wholesome things and messages there. I would say that's why we watched that, and then we were like, oh yeah, that's good, like let's use that. But you said like you
I,
oh, sorry.
I love those movies. The ones that I mentioned, I know they're kiddie movies, but I love them. I'll be to learn a lot from those.
Oh yeah, yeah. You mentioned Kung Fu Panda. That's is that a favorite for you, or
One of my favorites, obviously Jurassic Park. I think probably it's top there, but
mm,
Kung Fu Panda's pretty high too.
that's awesome. Are there like any, like, I'm just curious, any like anime or any games that you like? Because I'm a giant nerd.
Ain't that yeah, of course, there's games that are like. I mean, I don't know what it has to do with Buddhism, but yeah, that's just like I think the new Street Fighter is coming out, and I kind of like identify with Dalsim. He's like my favorite character. The whole like yoga and stuff like
Oh
that. That's
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
dope.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you say it has nothing to do with Buddhism, but there's actually Buddhist imagery throughout those games, and they actually like, yeah, like and it was, yeah, and even Dalsim, he says yoga a lot, and everybody learns the word yoga from the game, like as the kid, and you're like, what's that? Like
Yeah.
yoga fire, like that's you're spitting hot yoga fire.
Right, right.
But the Buddha knew yoga, like he did yoga. Yoga is word that he spoke, and so you hear yoga, and I'm like, yeah, maybe the Buddha, walking by would be like, oh yeah, somebody's saying yoga, right? Which is cool. Yeah, but thank you for that. Sorry. Um,
You
uh,
good?
are there any like Buddhists other than the Buddha who are role models to you?
Yeah. Thich Nhat Hanh is one of them. I don't know if I said it correctly.
Thich Nhat Hanh.
Um,
Yeah, Thich Nhat
Other,
Hanh.
yeah. Other role models. They're not particularly Buddhist, but I think they influenced me a lot. Gandhi. I'm big on Gandhi. The way he carried himself and the message and how he did things in a peaceful manner and showing non-violence and ahimsa. That's pretty great. Bob Marley. I spoke about Bob Marley earlier, and Sadhguru is another one.
Sadhguru. Okay. A lot of people have heard of Thich Nhat Hanh. If they're watching this channel, they definitely have. Um, Gandhi, of course, and we've had Tushar Gandhi on this channel, right? There's also Bob Marley, you said, but then Sadhguru. um, maybe not a lot of people know Sadhguru. It depends on what side of the algorithm
Yeah.
you're on, right? So could you explain a little bit about
Yeah, well,
Sadhguru?
he's a yogi. For those who don't know, he's a yogi, and he kind of speak about life and his wisdom and how to go about life challenges. Something similar to what we're trying to do here in this podcast.
Mm,
And a lot of things that he says, I enjoy and I relate. And one of my goals is to just kind of be like, if I had like my dream job or my dream situation, it would be just being home and teaching the world about peace and about meditation and making that kind of like my goal in life and everything. Just focusing on that.
mm.
So I think that's pretty inspiring.
Yeah, and Sadhguru, even though he's a yogi and more on the Hindu side of things, he does teach a lot about the Buddha, right? And which is actually you'll find quite often with Indian folks and Hindus is that they actually consider the Buddha one of their own. So, but do you do you are there any of his teachings about the Buddha that you enjoy, um, or is it more just a general way about how he speaks about the world and topics?
It's the way he carries himself and how he sometimes he faces like difficult questions and his composure is like always blissful and always at ease, and that's something that I aspire to be to a point that where you could say whatever and you could throw that even the most difficult question and that could be blissful. So which I think I'm practicing right now a little bit where you asking me all these questions. I'm trying to stay at ease and try to answer it to the best of my abilities, but yeah.
Hmm. Well, I appreciate that, and yeah, he does sort of embody that, right? That sort of calm and equanimity that we admire in Buddhism and want to attain ourselves, right? Um, so, all right. So maybe a more challenging question would be in Dharma studies, which we have engaged in before, especially as a temple. Um, what was your favorite book, if you could, recommend one? So we covered in our study group Heart of the Buddhist Teaching by Thich Nhat Hanh, Anger by Thich Nhat Hanh, The Buddha by Karen Armstrong, and also the Dhammapada. But we also discussed other, sources of wisdom as well. But are any of these books your go-to or something that you recommend?
Yeah, for me it was Anger. And the reason it was Anger because at the time that I started reading it with you guys, I was going through a lot in my personal life, and I was at a point that I still wasn't fully comfortable with who I am, and I was finding reasons like why me or why is this not happening. And reading that book, it made me develop love and kindness for myself. It also made me understand like what I try to speak with you guys all the time, which is basically when those feelings of negativity comes, how can you transcend that and turn into a positive just by kind of understanding the other person where they come from and practicing mindful listening and all that, and it really helped a lot. And yeah, that definitely was the book that inspired me the most.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's such an underrated book, and it's definitely a must-read for the current times, right? um, and I feel like we'll get to talk more about that book in the coming episodes when we have different when we approach the topic of engaged Buddhism and activism, and how a lot of people see anger as a resource as opposed to what it really is, which is a hindrance, especially in Buddhism. But yeah, anyway, well, that's a little preview of what's to come, I think, in the future. Thank you so much for that. And of our Dharma teachings at Temple, do you have any that stuck with you?
Yeah, I think it was around the same period that we were reading the book on anger, and it was a talk about impermanence and accepting things as is and not looking too deep into it and realizing that part of learning the Dharma is learning that things will pass and go. And I think it was about the same period that we were reading that book, and that kind of stuck with me again because I was going through so much at the time. So I think that's the one that kind of stuck with me a little bit more than other ones.
Okay, for sure, yeah. Thank you. And as far as meditation, which do you recommend to newcomers? Like, and I wrote like a long description of what I mean by that. So like, because there are different kinds of meditation, right? And you have Zen on your hand, but Zen is a sect of Buddhism, right? It is right. Like Buddhism has various sects, meaning like denominations, as it were. And Zen goes straight into probably one of the hardest forms of meditation, which is mindfulness and mindful breathing techniques, right? So
which
that
is the one I practice.
right. But for newcomers, I've had this experience. I've been to several, like I've been to so many retreats now, and have experienced a lot of newcomers, and I just know, like, so people will immediately say, "Oh, if you do that, you will trigger my anxiety. If you make me sit there and just focus on my breathing, I'm not going to be able to do that." And there are other ways of meditation, right? So there's mantra meditation, there's loving kindness meditation, and so on. So I'm wondering, like, you've been doing these shorts, which are awesome. You've been doing these shorts of introducing forms of meditation for people, and so, like, what I'm wondering is, what do you recommend for newcomers to start with in meditation?
Well, it depends on your personality and on your intentions. If you just want to try like real quick, I'll probably go with first a guided meditation just to keep it easy peasy. And then after that, I would do maybe like a mantra meditation. Like if you can focus on your breath and there's a lot going on. There's different techniques you could use. There's a 4-7-8 technique where you like breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 7, and breathe out 8. There's box breathing, visualization. If you're going through a lot, like I have in the past, I think loving kindness will help. Kind of focus on how you're feeling and kind of transcend that. But it depends. It depends. But eventually, the best way is always going to be mindfulness. So it depends on your intention. Honestly, it depends.
Okay.
Just focus. Do like 5 minutes every day. Count your breath maybe and go from there.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So, I have to agree with that. That's all I have to say. Is like I agree. Starting with the mantra meditations, and then maybe moving into box breathing, and those are probably the best for beginners.
Because instead of just thinking, it keeps you kind of focused on your breath, on the counts, and that way you don't get too distracted for people who like to overthink and stuff. So I think that would be the best way for them.
For sure, yeah. And at the same time, like, and I just want to clarify for our Zen friends, which, I have nothing against Zen. I have done Jukai. Basically, my point is, some people just do have that natural gift of being able to just sit. We just call it sitting, right? And you can just sit, and that does bring the clarity and the calm. But
If you can't sit, walking meditation is another one too. Walking meditation, that's another one you can do if you can sit still.
Yes, and I recommend, if I may, I recommend Keen style. But we can probably get to that when we do a series on meditation. I think that's in the future, right? So, on to the next question. Which place in the home or outdoors do you find most conducive to meditation, would you say?
For the most part, I have a little couch that I meditate in, and I do my mindfulness there every morning. If I gotta work, I usually just do it when I come back from work. But if it's like an outside style, I like going underneath a tree that I got here. I got like 5 acres over here, so I got like pretty, a little bit of land and some trees that I got that I just sit there and kind of listen to the butterflies and the sounds of the wind and stuff. So if I had to pick, I would probably say outside and be in nature, because nature always kind of connects you to everything. And Buddhism is about being connected with everything. So if I had to recommend people where to go, I would say outside. I always try outside, either by a tree or a body of water. That would be, incredible.
All right. Well, thanks, man. All right. So next thing, and I feel like this can. I kind of want to stop asking you questions. I feel like I'm. So no, you've been so graceful so far, and I appreciate everything you're saying. So what I want to ask you in the final follow-up, and feel free to elaborate as much as you want. How does your life serve as testimony for this new era of engaged Buddhism? So how is it? Yeah, and you can answer that however you want.
How? How my life? I would say my it's been tough. I feel it can help people to realize that by opening our hearts and our minds, we can discuss the greatness within, discover our own inner peace, and once we do that, we can share that with the world, share a little compassion and about peace and all that. I think that's the most important. That's what I learned about my life. That no matter what the turmoil is, you can always find a way to be better. Be like the like a mud out of the lotus. You know, you
Mhm.
come from a difficult situation, but you can always come out beautiful on the other side. So yeah,
And I feel like that's what you are doing and have done very graciously and in an exemplary way for all of us. And I have no doubt, like, you make an impact at your place of work as well. So you're appreciated, Dharma Sky. Um, we can see that you have solid practice and a way of speaking that connects with people. Um, do you have any like last things you want to say to the audience, or you want to just
yeah.
okay?
I want to talk about a little bit about knowing peace is not enough, and having wisdom is not enough. We gotta find a way to help other people. I think it is in our nature to serve others and to make the world a better place. So I
Hmm.
hope you guys can open your hearts and open your minds and find that grace and find that inner peace. And once you do, find a way to make the world a better place as much as you can.
Yeah, and starting with the unit of one, right, which is ourself, right? um,
It always starts with you. You can't make the world a better place if your inner world is in turmoil or in chaos.
mhm, I can agree with that.
For sure.
Uh, yeah, I 100% agree with you. Um, well, Dharma Sky, I have to thank you, and I can't thank you enough for your. Oh, Dharma Sky, I did have one more question for you. If you could travel anywhere in the world outside of the United States, so we're also including Puerto Rico there, because it's part of the United States. If you could go anywhere else in the world, where would that be?
Well, besides Japan, which you already know that I want to go, I would say India. Like I love the culture. I love the food. Love Indian food. Big curry head here. I love
Hmm.
curry, and it's like paying homage to where it all started. Like the Buddha came from India and Nepal. You know, now Nepal, and
Hmm.
the culture like meditation started there. Yoga, we spoke about yoga. It started there. Me being a vegan, eating plant based started there, and I always seen the temples, how beautiful they look, and I always trying to go check it out. I think there's this train where it takes you to different places where the Buddha was and stuff. So I
Hmm.
always wanted to check that out. But India for sure it will be one of those places I want to go. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I can go one day. As well as Japan. I'm coming soon, Japan. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you're more than welcome here. Um, but yeah, I thank you. Hopefully in the future we can go together on this pilgrimage for the
Yeah.
marking the stations of the Buddha. So um, as always, Dharma Sky, thank you so much for your time, your presence, your grace. Um, all right, everyone. I'm gonna bow out here. I've been Dharma Peace.
And I'm Dharma Sky.
All right, guys. If you made it this far, send us out to you. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Send Dharma Sky your love. All right, guys. And until next time.